Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Today, we are going to be talking about the second book in the Family Tree trilogy. So, if you saw my last review, the first one was An Unconventional Family. The second book is titled An Unbreakable Family by Roberta Bombonato. Stay tuned. All right. It is time to talk about An Unbreakable Family by Roberta Bombonato. First off, I just want to say, Marvin here, he looks like Devon Rawl from Star Trek. Seriously, look at this. They're practically twins. Episode 3, Next Generation. Season 3, Next Generation. Episode 8, The Price. In case you care, yeah, I'm a Trekkie. I mean, come on, it is such a great show. Alright, but moving on. Anyway, Star Trek really has nothing to do with this book or this series at all. But seriously, they look like twins. I swear it's the same person. Maybe he time traveled to the future or something. Alright, just kidding. Enough of getting around there. Time to move on to An Unbreakable Family. Second book in the Family Tree trilogy of books. So, as we know from the first book in this series, there is Marvin, hitman, or now retired hitman. And we've also got Carmen, dancer, who's now a dance teacher, and their adopted daughter, Keiko, aka Akemi. Their past catches up with this family. It's 10 years later. Marvin's gone into retirement from his old hitman job. They now have their own son, Giovanni, in the picture. And we have our 18-year-old Akemi, who is desperate to know more about her past, her history, where she came from, and why her family was slaughtered, which we learned in the first book it happened, and kind of how they all came together in one. And of course, Marvin, he is not the womanizer like he used to be. Having that family has really changed his outlook and perspective. He's gotten himself out of the hitman job and into a more stable job, basically the accountant for the dance studio owned by Carmen. So really they tried to settle into this normal life, this normal way of being, but of course nothing can stay normal, especially when you have the kind of history that Marvin does and the kind of history that Akemi does with her family, who is long since effectively gone. And this all catches up with them, and of course in this action-packed, high-energy tale of adventure throughout the book. Just really fun, entertaining. Marvin finds himself in a position where he once again has to go and rescue his adoptive daughter because the past catches up in a rather explosive and violent way. And it's not just about this family itself. We also, of course, have Carmen's extended family involved, and the brother that nobody really knew she had is now in the picture, and the kind of things he's been involved with. He's been involved with some of the bad guys, I guess, from Marvin's past. So spoiler warning, he's involved with the same group of people that his arch nemesis Bram was involved with. In fact, he's hit, or when I say he, I mean Carmen's brother. So I guess I should probably let you know, Carmen's brother's name is Juan, and he's part of this group of domestic terrorists. And of course, Akemi / Keiko, she had been basically spending a lot of time hacking into different computers and databases, trying to find out more about herself. And unfortunately, Juan found out about this when Akemi hacked him, and she became the next target in an effort to, well, protect his own interests, essentially. This, of course, brings Marvin out of retirement, and the whole family finds himself having to run to safe houses, gather a big group of people and a team together to mount a rescue operation against these domestic terrorists who are seeking to basically cause death and destruction on a tight timeline as well. So all of it action-packed, good, high-energy, action-packed story from start to finish. Really enjoying this series of books. It's good, it's fun, it is just enjoyable all around. So the book itself is written by a first-person narrative from each character's perspective as we go through. So each chapter is titled with the name of the character's perspective that we are now reading from throughout the book. So that kind of helps keep a line. Now, I've read some books where it was first-person perspective, but sometimes it was hard to tell which character you were dealing with at that point, because it's always things like, I did this, I did that, and then this and that. So it was really awesome the way that's set up, and I definitely appreciate the way the chapter headings were put, telling you right from the start, this is the character perspective which you're reading from. So that was really good, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it and that style. So there were some aspects of it that I found a little bit overdone, not particularly overdone with this particular book series, but just as a generalization in terms of storytelling and literature. One is the closed off teenager that doesn't want to talk to their parents, which we find with Keiko Akimi. Now, I know she definitely has a lot of reason to be reclusive, essentially, based on her past and her history and the things that she's been through. Certainly makes a lot of sense on why she might not be open to discussing everything that's going on in her life. So, I mean, it does fit the story, but that also seems to be a very overdone type of stereotypical or cliche type of characterization of the teenager that just doesn't want to talk to their dad and just closes herself off from him. And of course, this is a point of frustration for Marvin as well, because he used to have these open and honest conversations with Keiko /Akimi. So he's feeling like he's been pushed away as a father figure in her life. So it's understandable the way he's feeling about that. I mean, I'm a father. I've got a teenage daughter myself. So, you know, I can only imagine how, well, not only imagine, like, I get it as a father myself, why a particular character or father figure might feel the way they do in that type of situation. But ultimately, I find that whole closed-off teenager mentality seems to be something that's just done so often as part of any story in any form or medium in general. So that's not a knock against the book necessarily or the characterization. I just find it's a little bit overdone in general. And that's definitely part of this book. I don't think that necessarily calls the book out for being a bad writing in any way, but just something that's kind of in there. And then, of course, we also have the overprotective dad characterization as well. Marvin is very overprotective of Akimi in this story. Now, of course, again, that's something that's extremely understandable, considering the circumstances in which Akimi came into their family in the first place. In fact, I would fully expect him to be. So I have to emphasize it really fits the story, but that overprotective dad mentality is also something that's done so often in so many mediums that's at this point just like, really, another overprotective dad? But at the same time, I get it. This particular character, and it actually fits this character quite well, as annoying as that ideology, that stereotype is, for me personally in storytelling, it's also one that actually fits the character well within this book and this story. So those are kind of important things to note within this. You know, this isn't a typical story, and it is not a conventional family by any means. And so while those particular tropes, I guess, is a good way to put it, are things that kind of annoy me in storytelling in general, they do tend to fit the characters well in this at the same time. So it's kind of like split. Do I like it? Do I not? I don't know. It makes sense, but you know, it seems overdone in a lot of ways, those particular tropes. So it's, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of split on that as to whether I like that or didn't like that. I'm not really sure where I fall on that. But in the end, like, those are just some my thoughts on those particular aspects that, again, bother me in general, or not bother me, just I don't like them in general because they seem so overdone in storytelling mediums in general. Not particularly this book. It's not that I think it was done bad or anything. So those are just my main thoughts on this particular book and Unbreakable Family. So definitely I put this at a 3.7, about 3.7 rating. Round that up to 4 stars on Goodreads because they've got a 5-star option with no partial stars. But yeah, definitely overall really am enjoying this whole family tree series of books. And one thing that I can say for sure that I really liked about this book. First of all, spoiler warnings right here for book 1. What we learned from book 1 about Paula's father being Bram, which of course is Marvin's arch nemesis. Now Paula is Akemi / Keiko's best friend, and Marvin of course had to kill Paula's dad in order to protect Keiko Akemi. Now Keiko knows the truth about this, but Paula does not. So right at the very and of course there were parts in the first book that I thought, I bet Bram's connected to Paula somehow, as part of that family in some way, and I knew it, I saw it coming, but that's all right. But anyway, this is something that is important to note, that this particular aspect, this one piece of information from book 1, serves as the setup for book 3. And I thought that was set up really well right at the end on how this setup for book 3 was coming, and just ends on that note. And this is just really good about Paula discovering the truth about who killed her father. So that is going to become an interesting plot point for the next book, I'm sure. Definitely I'm looking forward to it. So those are just my thoughts here on An Unbreakable Family. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will try to put the link to An Unconventional Family, as well as Roberta Bombonato's social media, Instagram and Twitter pages for you to check out there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you next time on the next episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Until then, keep on reading. Bye.